Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last week I've been driving the 2025 Volkswagen Taos SEL. Up front is a 1.5 liter turbocharged inline 4, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be making this video here today because I've spent the last week driving the Volkswagen Taos, and it's been a couple years since I've driven the Taos. They have facelifted it for the 2025 model year, changed a couple things here and there, and we're going to talk about where this vehicle fits in the segment, and we might get into what I personally believe Volkswagen should do moving forward. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 1.5 liter turbo under the hood. Well, it is a dual overhead cam, turbocharged engine, and this is one of the big downsides of the Taos. I do believe that this is underpowered. Around town, you're not really going to notice it. So if you live in a college town, you don't really commute that far, don't worry about it. It's not going to be on your radar. But if you do a lot of highway driving, you are going to notice that it somewhat falls flat on its face when you try to merge. I personally do a lot of highway driving, and 1.5 turbos have just never really been good for that. So that is something that I don't really love. Like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic. It's fine and does the job. Again, I'm not overly in love with this, but it's here, and that's all that matters. And last but not least, this does have the 4Motion, meaning it is all-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive the Volkswagen Taos? Well, besides that highway merging or trying to speed up while already at speed, which can be troublesome, it's a fine driving experience. It has a good enough ride quality. Visibility is decent. I really enjoy the size of the Taos. I think it's very maneuverable, whether that be in an urban environment or not. And we'll talk about that a lot with its competition, of course, but overall, I enjoy the driving experience. It's fine enough, and it gets the job done. With that out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have two physical gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my coolant temperature, off to the right's the fuel, but then we get the screen in the center. I like this setup. It is pretty easy to see, pretty easy to read, and you can swipe through a couple of different pages that are really helpful information, and I like to see that a lot. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our adaptive cruise control as well as volume. And off to the right, we have our selectors for the gauge cluster screen, as well as our heated steering wheel, voice commands, view button, which will, of course, switch around the gauge cluster, and our skip track. I do like the Volkswagen badge on the steering wheel. I think overall the steering wheel looks very presentable. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent and our headlight switch. And moving on to the door, you'll see your lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows, as well as this nice blue leather fabric. This interior is called night blue leather, and we'll talk a lot about that a little bit later on, but I like that it adds a little bit of contrast here in the interior. Moving into the center, we do have our infotainment display. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Nothing too crazy beyond this. I think it's a relatively easy to use infotainment, and like I said, I just go straight to Apple CarPlay and it works pretty flawlessly. Here's the backup camera in case you're curious. Not the highest of quality, but that's okay. And moving down below, we do have two climate control vents, hazard switch, and the climate controls themselves. We do get dual zone climate as well as heated and ventilated seats. Very nice to see ventilated seats here. And what I really like, this slider for the fan speed, you can tap it all the way up and it will jump to the highest fan speed. Or you could tap it along the way and it will jump to that fan speed. This is why you should use sliders. Down below, we do have two USB-Cs as well as a 12-volt outlet and the engine start-stop button. Power parking brake, auto start stop on and off, and parking sensors on and off surrounding the shifter. Shifter looks presentable, works well, no complaints. But at the bottom of the shifter, we do have our drive modes for snow, eco, normal, and off-road modes. So very cool to see all of those options here in the Taos. Then we do have cup holders. We will do a big friggin' bottle test, and unfortunately, yet semi-predictably, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Then we we do get a center console and the seats. The seats are also finished in this dark blue material, which I quite like. And they've been comfortable enough on the trips that I've taken this vehicle on. I've done over 300 miles in this car, and so it's worked out pretty well for all of that. It's heated and ventilated, which I would like to see at this price point and in this vehicle. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2025 Volkswagen Taos SEL, and a couple really sounded like the EA Sports guy when I said that. EA Sports. It's in the game. That was bad. Anyway, 2 climate vents back here, single USB-C charger. We do get a center console, bada bing, bada boom, flip down cup holders. I fit really well in here, and this is way better and way more spacious than the Mazda CX-30 that this vehicle goes up against. Now, I enjoy driving the CX-30 a heck of a lot more than driving this vehicle, but in terms of space, if you have humans that you want to sit in the back of your vehicle, this is the way to go. This has an absolutely lovely rear seating space, and I really enjoy it. We still have power windows back here. It'd be crazy to see cranks. LED lights, and I get to enjoy this giant glass roof. So a big, big win for the Taos is the back seat. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. I do have to say one downside of the Taos is the fact that it does not have a power lift gate, which is fine for a vehicle like this. However, for $36,000, I would like to see a power lift gate. Once we are around the back here, this is the driver's floor mat. Want to keep that clean. We can pick this up. We do get a spare tire, which is very nice to see, and all of that. We have a nice little light here. We have a passway through to the back seats. However, you could obviously clearly see through. Pretty decent storage space. Again, nicer than the Mazda CX-30, of which I would compare this to price-wise and somewhat size-wise, so definitely a big win back here. The packaging inside the Taos is absolutely top-notch, but again, grab here. Yeah. Oh, that was a lot of force. You have to, there we go. Would love to see power in the future. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I think this is one of, if not the biggest redeeming quality of the Volkswagen Taos, is the way that it looks. I think it looks fantastic, especially this color. This is monument gray, but it really looks like it has just a touch of blue in it, which I am a big fan of. I think it looks great, and the biggest compliment I've gotten all week has been, oh, that thing's so cute. And I full-heartedly agree. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Volkswagen Taos refresh for the last week? Well, I've enjoyed this vehicle. I do like the Taos. I think it works semi-well. However, when I make these videos, I'm always looking for that edge. I'm always looking for that one thing that sets the car apart from the competition, because the SUV and compact SUV segments are so highly competitive these days. Every single brand has several SUVs available at this price point. It is a very, very saturated market. So what makes the Taos stand apart? No, that's actually a question. What makes the Taos stand apart? I'm not totally sure. I think the looks of it are a big standout quality, but the drivetrain is so mundane. The driving experience is mundane. The features in here are found in pretty much every other vehicle. If you want to buy this because it's cute, I agree. That's a great reason to buy it, but that shouldn't be the only reason. And so, if I were the CEO of Volkswagen, which would take a lot of career changes to be, I would personally lean into the cuteness. Back in the day, Volkswagen was pretty cute. The Bug, the Beetle, was a cute car. The Volkswagen Bus was adorable and camper and petite. Even the Volkswagen Thing was fun and interesting. The Volkswagen Karmann Ghia was one of the most beautiful cars of the time. And it was still the people's car. It was still affordable. You could own a rolling piece of art for way less than the 250 California Ferrari. And so now Volkswagen has the ID Buzz, which captures it really, really well. Everyone came up to me and said, oh my gosh, I love that car when I had it. Everyone thought it was adorable. People took pictures of it. It was iconic looking. It is iconic looking. I think Volkswagen, to get their edge in the market, should lean into that. You should be able to get one of these in crazy, crazy colors. It should have a cool roof box optional. It should have cool features. Maybe a refrigerator in the center console. That's not found on vehicles of this size. Maybe they should bring back the flower vase from the early 2000s Beetles. The early 2000s Beetles had a flower vase built into the dashboard. Maybe they should offer a limited edition Harley Quinn Taos. The Harley Quinn was back when they used to build a couple of vehicles with all different colors. It looked crazy and wacky. Here's the Harley Quinn Beetle that I drove. That sort of style here on the Taos would be so cool. Volkswagen needs to embrace the weird, and as of recent, they haven't been doing that. I think Volkswagen needs to lean into their younger, fun audience, offer fun cars at affordable prices, like the original Beetle, like the Bus, like the Karmann Ghia, because that's how you have to stand out. In this market, in this crazy convoluted SUV market, you have to do something to stand out. And as it is, the Volkswagen Taos just doesn't have that edge. It doesn't have the bite. It doesn't have that signature plate that's gonna bring me back to this restaurant. I like this car. It has operated very well in my time with it. And so far, the Volkswagen Taos just doesn't have that edge to bring me back. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Volkswagen for letting me borrow this Volkswagen Taos for the last week. Huge thank you to Drive Shop for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this vehicle. And of course, the Midwest Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.